Conrad Hauser has made first contact with an alien being and lived to tell the tale, but no one, not even Colonel Hawk, believes the story of the jet fighter converting into a colossus alien robot that nearly killed the man known as Duke. Now, one of the U.S. Army's most decorated soldiers is on the hunt for answers, drawn into a conflict that no amount of training could ever prepare him for, a war that only a real American hero has any chance of surviving. Presented by Skybound Entertainment, distributed by Image Comics, Duke, Volume 1, Issues 1 to 5, plunges us into the heart of the Energon Universe. Knowing is half the battle as Duke's journey unfolds, introduced in Transformers Volume 4, Issue 2. This epic saga leads into a new series of G.I. Joe within the Energon Universe, seamlessly connecting with Transformers and Void rivals. Also included in this video is an epilogue. Energon Universe 2024 sets the stage for even a greater adventures, promising more intense battles and thrilling revelations. Don't miss out on the action as the boundaries between the worlds blur and the heroes rise to face unprecedented challenges. Calm down. If my family killed everyone who poked their nose into our business, we would have gone under centuries ago. We are hardly the only people keeping an eye on him. If he were to disappear or die, it would draw too much attention to our operation. Quote, Destro, Energon Universe, Skybound, Image, Duke, Volume 1, Issue 1, following the events of Transformers, Volume 4, Issue 2. This is the recap before this issue. The Decepticons begin to drain the planet of its energy. Soundwave intercepts a transmission from the U.S. military asking a nearby pilot under the call sign Frosting to intercept their attack. Amused at the idea of the squishes trying to fight them, Starscream goes to intercept the fighter. He dogfights with them for a bit before transforming and smacking the jet down. The pilot and his ride-along eject, but Starscream catches up to Frosting and squashes him in front of his hand. The other soldier activates a button on the parachute, converting it into a wing jetpack. As Starscream advances, he pulls out his gun and fires at the Decepticon, getting a lucky shot at his eye before retreating. Starscream opts to give up on annoyance, and Duke flies away, fight another day. The story begins with General Hawk addressing Duke, acknowledging his status as the best in class and a product of America. He questions Duke's current disheveled state, expressing concern about what has happened to him. Duke is described as having not shaved, his shirt not buttoned up properly, and his uniform appearing unkempt. He seems slumped over a chair, contributing to his disheveled appearance. General Hawk says, regardless, we want you back. Your country needs you back. The narrative dwells into the reason behind Duke's state, revealing he and another G.I. Joe operative were on a mission. As they engaged in battle, their airplane unexpectedly transformed into an enormous robot, identified by us as a Decepticon. Duke expresses his disbelief, stating that he couldn't believe that the transformation occurred. He reveals the emotional impact of the incident, mentioning that his partner was killed, leaving him feeling disoriented and shaken. The disarray Duke is experiencing is attributed to his traumatic incident. General Hawk emphasizes the need for Duke to take care of his co-pilot's family, recognizing the emotional toll the loss has taken on him. Duke presses General Hawk, inquiring about the context of the black box from the Sky Striker. General Hawk responds that the information is classified, frustrating Duke. In his frustration, Duke throws some files across at General Hawk. Hawk advises Duke to take some time for himself and return when ready, emphasizing the continued need for him. Duke, however, dismisses the suggestion, declaring, "To hell with it, I'm done," and abruptly leaves. Fast forwarding 6 months, Duke undergoes a noticeable transformation, sporting long blonde hair and a complete beard. He is seen navigating his way to a specific meeting area, entering a place filled with individuals discussing various conspiracies. These discussions include accounts of witnessing trucks transforming into robots, i.e. Optimus Prime, and claims that some entities are controlled by little green men. Duke finds himself in disbelief, shaking his head and questioning questioning the purpose of his presence in the midst of these bizarre discussions. Eventually gaining attention, a woman approaches him and expresses relief that he made it to the meeting. Duke identifies her as Dr. Adele Burkhardt, the same doctor from the first issue of G.I. Joe. She leads him to a private room, apologizing for the unconventional circumstances and explaining that is where she conducts her work, and amidst these individuals she refers to as crazies. Dr. Burkhardt proceeds to share the results of her research with Duke, acknowledging the loss of most of her findings. She reveals that during the creation of the universe, a powerful energy disappeared into the cosmos, capable of powering anything and everything, essentially constituting an Energon Universe. Displaying a schematic on the board, she explains its details, pointing out that Mars Industries appears to be the sole company with the access to this extraordinary energy source. Dr. Burkhardt informs Duke that she requires him to undertake a covert mission to infiltrate Mars Industries. Duke responds with a laugh, reassuring her that he has successfully infiltrated more challenging locations than a corporate setting. As Duke infiltrates Mars Industries, he discovers technological advancements that seem connected to the transforming robot. Suddenly, he notices something below, and to his surprise, Mercer appears, initiating a fight. Mercer seizes Duke by the neck, forcing his head towards the ground, positioning him in unfavorable for an immediate strike to the back of his head. However, Duke swiftly twists around, breaking free from Mercer's grasp, and simultaneously delivers a headbutt. Despite Duke's counter move, Mercer remains undeterred, holding the advantage with superior weight and height. Mercer launches a powerful straight jab, but Duke skillfully evades it, moving away. Duke successfully blocks the subsequent shots from Mercer, demonstrating agility. However, Duke's attempt at a roundhouse misses its mark. In response, Mercer attempts another significant roundhouse, but this time he fails to connect as Duke skillfully avoids the attack. Seizing the opportunity, Duke manages to trip up his larger opponent, shifting the momentum of the fight. With Mercer now on the ground, Duke commands, "Stay down, soldier." As approximately 20 Mars soldiers converge on Duke, he valiantly attempts to fight back, landing a few punches. However, the overwhelming number of opponents makes his efforts seem futile. While the soldiers restrain Duke, Mercer seizes the opportunity to deliver a powerful punch directly into Duke's stomach, landing a significant and impactful blow. Pinned down by 20 soldiers, Duke becomes the target of their collective assault as they unleash a barrage of punches, kicks, and hits. In his battered and bloody state, Duke defiantly declares, "You built it. I knew it." His words suggest that he has uncovered some knowledge or realization related to something that was constructed or created, indicating a connection to the ongoing events. The Mars soldiers forcibly throw Duke down, dismissing him as a nut job and labeling him as crazy due to his seemingly unconventional beliefs or actions. Mercer communicates with someone on the other end, suggesting immediate execution, but a voice identified as Destro intervened, stating that letting Duke go is the wiser choice, as there are others to ensure he doesn't reveal information. "Calm down. If my family killed everyone who poked their nose into our business, we would have gone under centuries ago. We are hardly the only people keeping an eye on him. If he were to disappear or die, it would draw too much attention to our operation." Upon realizing the urgency, Duke decides to return to Dr. Burkhardt. Finding her severely injured and on the brink of death, she implores him to disseminate the critical information immediately, acknowledging that it's too late for her. Dr. Burkhardt succumbs to her injuries. Subsequently, assault officers storm in, opening fire on Duke. In a daring escape, he leaps out the window, prompting one of the officers to comment that surviving such a fall is impossible. Against the odds, Duke survives, though badly wounded, bleeding profusely. He navigates through an alley, endeavoring to collect his thoughts and strategize his next move. In the following scene, General Hawk is seen walking towards an Apache helicopter in the dark, engaged in a phone conversation. General Hawk says, "Of course, I understand. This is my mess. I hold full responsibility. I'll clean it up. One of our own has become a problem. Duke has gone rogue, Krieger. Civilian lives have been taken, and he's on the run. Duke is one of the best, Colonel Hawk. Finding him will be impossible. Not if we bring in the best to hunt him down. If we want to track an American hero, we get American heroes. Stalker and rock and roll will track down Duke, man on the run." Next issue, Skybound Comic, Duke, Volume 1, Issue 2, in the Energon Universe. Conrad Hauser has made first contact with an alien being and lived to tell the tale. But no one, not even Colonel Hawk, believes the story of the jet fighter converting into a colossus alien robot that nearly killed the man known as Duke. Now, one of U.S. Army's most decorated soldiers is on the hunt for answers, drawn into a conflict that no amount of training could ever prepare him for, a war that only a real American hero has a chance of surviving. This is for the best, Duke. You can't be on the run. You want to get to the other side of this? You need to trust the system. The system didn't trust me. Why should I believe anything from you? Quote, Stalker and Duke. From the Energon Universe, Skybound Entertainment, Image Distribution, Duke, Volume 1, Issue 2, following the events of Transformers, Volume 4, Issue 2. Duke, an American hero, finds himself on the run after receiving information from Dr. Burkhardt, who was killed for assisting him. Injured from gunshot wounds and having leaped out of a building, Duke is now wanted for murder, pursued by various factions. Perched atop of a trailer with a sun umbrella, a man observes the aftermath of 16 casualties on his phone and contemplates what Conrad, also known as Duke, has entangled himself in. Despite the grim scene, this individual feels a sense of relief, preferring Duke to be the one pursued rather than himself. Stretching warily, the man craves a cup of coffee to invigorate himself after witnessing the troubling situation. Wearing slippers, socks, atop of a trailer, he gazes over a junkyard named Manny's Mean Machines, scattered with tires and used cars. Affectionately blowing a kiss to his muscle car, we discover his identity as Lance J. Steinberg, holder of a Bachelor of Science degree from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, but he is none other than Clutch. The coffee may be a day old, but as fate would have it, the wanted man Duke walks in, suggesting to Clutch, why don't you pour me one while you're at it? Clutch is surprised to see his friend, Conrad Hauser, aka Duke. Clutch, unable to recognize Duke due to the beard, questions what he's doing here. Duke explains that the military police are after him. However, Duke reminds Clutch that they go even further back. At this moment, a woman's voice calls out to Clutch, asking if he's okay. The groggy woman, having heard a scream, reassures that Clutch has nothing to worry about, mentioning that it's just an old buddy named Duke who stopped by. Clutch is revealed to be a childhood friend, and in their youth, Clutch used to build things while Duke was known for crashing them. Clutch attempts to introduce the woman to Duke, but he struggles to remember her name, leading to the frustration on the woman's part. Clutch receives a smack from the frustrated woman for not remembering her name, and as she storms off, Duke jokingly remarks, I still see you have a way with the ladies. The pain intensifies for Duke due to the multiple gunshot wounds, and he buckles in agony. Clutch recognizes the urgency as Duke explains the injuries caused by bullets and glass from his daring escape through a window. Clutch, not finding Duke's situation strange, likens him to a car in need of a tune-up. However, he expresses interest in a rundown of Duke's current predicament and what's happening. Duke informs Clutch about the giant robot incident, but Clutch, skeptical, doesn't believe the story. However, he acknowledges that Dr. Burkhardt must have had her reason for trusting Duke with a key. Clutch explains to Duke that the key is more like a LoJack with stealth trackers, and its purpose is to track something highly illegal. They speculate on its origin and aim to uncover who is using this technology. As he activates the tracking device, the distinctive beeping sound fills the air, indicating the device is in operation. Clutch, realizing the significance of the tracking device, acknowledges Duke, saying, well, I'll be damned. This is where you need to go, good old boy. The tracking device location is identified somewhere in the United States. Destro becomes aware that something significant is unfolding. As he too receives a beeping message, Duke is reluctant to involve anyone else, especially his brother. Despite the familiar connection, he chooses to proceed alone, not wanting to put his loved ones at risk. He feels bad enough getting Clutch involved in this situation. A boombox clunks on the top of a metal as Clutch says, why go back to Hawk? Duke responds, he didn't believe me before. I doubt he believes me now. As Clutch says his farewell to Duke, he expresses hope that his friend will discover the answers he seeks. Suddenly, the sound of bullets being loaded into a machine gun and the lively tunes of rock and roll fill the air. Rock and roll, armed with a machine gun, exclaims, let's make some noise, as the boombox blares out, out classic rock and roll tunes. Bullets fly everywhere as Duke and Clutch scramble for cover. Unfortunately, the muscle car takes a barrage of bullets and erupts in flames, causing Clutch immense pain as he watches his beloved car go up in smoke. Meanwhile, Rock and Roll wears a triumphant smile amidst the chaos. Amidst the circling bullets, Duke and Clutch seek refuge in the garage. Duke proposes taking the wheel, but Clutch adamantly refuses. Outside, Rock and Roll taunts them, urging them to come out and play. The truck comes crashing out of the garage, evading the machine gun fire. However, Rock and Roll deploys 2 drones equipped with machine guns, intentionally guiding the trucks along a specific path. Clutch comments that either he's the best driver in the world or the shooter is terrible. Duke realizes that Rock and Roll isn't trying to hit them. He's directing them toward a specific destination. Stalker, armed with a sniper rifle, skillfully blows out all the tires. His precision is evident. The truck crashes into a tree, and as Clutch head hits the steering wheel, he amusingly recalls the name of the girl from last night, Sherry. Duke jokingly remarks, "Now you remember her name." Stalker explains, "My partner and I needed to get you away from the civilians where no one would see us take you in." Duke, in pain and defiance, questions, "Then what makes you think you're taking me in?" Stalker firmly asserts, "Duke, you're hurt. There's no point in getting more hurt. Stand down, that's an order." Duke charges towards Stalker, declaring, "I don't take orders anymore." However, Stalker effortlessly sidesteps Duke's punch and calmly mentions, "Let me show you a move an old friend taught me." Stalker delivers a powerful roundhouse kick connecting with Duke's head, causing a crack. Despite the impact, Duke defiantly spits out blood and begins to rise again. Stalker expresses disappointment, stating, "I had high hopes for you, kid," before delivering a boot to Duke's head, rendering him unconscious. A helicopter lands and Duke's face is covered, obscuring his destination. Colonel Hawk, aware that Duke has been captured, observes the scene as Duke is led away in handcuffs. Duke questions their destination, but Rock and Roll forcibly throws both Duke and Clutch, or handcuffed, into the elevator. Duke expresses his surprise, stating that he thought the pit was decommissioned in the 80s. Stalker clarifies that it was indeed decommissioned, but now it serves as a safe house for high-risk prisoners before transportation. Rock and Roll welcomes Duke and Clutch to their new home, an abandoned G.I. Joe base at the bottom of the pit. Clutch questions why he's in the cell with Duke, and the response is that they are accused of aiding and abetting a known fugitive. Duke recognizes the soldiers as Craig Rock and Roll McConnell and Lonzo Stalker Wilkinson, but Rock and Roll also seems to know Duke. Stalker insists that this is for the best, urging Duke to trust the system. Duke skeptically retorts that the system didn't trust him, questioning why he should believe anything from them. A woman's voice chimes in, expressing fascination and mentioning common goals. Both Duke and the mysterious woman seem to share a desire for freedom. The Baroness, captured and behind bars, suggests that perhaps they can come to an arrangement. She expresses desire to escape and proposes a potential collaboration with Duke. Next issue in the Energon series from Skybound Entertainment, distributed by Image Comics. Duke, Volume 1, Issue 3. Duke finds himself in an unexpected alliance as Mars assaulted the pit. "If you keep paying me the right money, I'm good for whatever, mate." Quote, Major Blood. Presented by Skybound Entertainment, distributed by Image Comics. Duke, Volume 1, Issue 3. At Mars headquarters, the company has begun relocating after being compromised by Duke's infiltration. Destro initially believed their interloper would be killed while being pursued by the authorities. Since that didn't happen, he must now be dealt with permanently. Luckily for them, Dr. Burkhardt's tracking device works both ways, and they know exactly where Duke is being held. Destro assigns this task to Major Blood, who is happy to undertake any assignments as long as Destro keeps paying him. In the pit, Rock and Roll and Stalker confer with Colonel Hawk, who tells them that a prison transport will arrive in 2 hours to transport Duke to a new facility. Stalker and Rock and Roll both express their concerns to Hawk about locking up such a decorated soldier, especially given how fervently Duke fought them. In the cells below, the Baroness continues trying to persuade Duke and Clutch to help her escape. Duke reveals he knows who she is. Anastasia Cisaverona, daughter of Eastern European aristocrats who got bored and joined up with an off-the-books intelligence agency before turning to terrorism for unknown reasons. Duke calls her misguided, which she throws back in his face. She quit the system, the very system that betrayed Duke despite his loyalties. When she asks what would get an American hero like him locked up in the pit? Duke simply echoes Hawk's statement that it's classified. Above ground, Stalker meets the transport car only to find that both its occupants have been murdered. A fleet of helicopters fly overhead, piloted by Major Blood and his bloodhounds. Blood orders his hounds to kill everyone in the pit. Rock and Roll lets Clutch and Duke out of their cells to evacuate. Baroness begs them not to leave her behind before an explosion knocks them down, Rock and Roll and Clutch. As bloodhounds storm the cell, Duke reluctantly frees the Baroness. She tells him to help his friends while she looks for an exit. As Duke helps Clutch clear rubble off Rock and Roll, he is attacked by Major Blood. Blood reveals that he was the one who killed Burkhardt and demands the advice from Duke. Duke feigns ignorance, but Blood is insistent. Duke has a high bounty on his head, and Blood has no problem going the extra distance to finish a job. Duke defiantly tells him he'll die before telling him anything. Blood aims his gun at Duke's head, but is shot in the back of the head by the Baroness. She then takes aim at Duke. There is a huge bounty on his head. Notes: Duke flashes back briefly to Frosting's death at the hands of Starscream in Transformers #2. Blood confirms that he killed Dr. Burkhardt back in issue 1, hinted by her mentioning that the man who attacked her was from Australia. As with other characters, Major Blood's design is based on that of his classified series figure. This includes his mechanical arm, a detail from his original toy sculpting, but has rarely been used in previous Joe fiction. The one element not seen in this iteration appearance is the iconic eye patch, but it's safe to assume that he'll be getting that soon. In turn, the outfits worn by Major Bloodhounds are inspired by Blood's classic design. The backstory of the Baroness detailed in this issue takes cues from her original backstory as the daughter of a European aristocrat turned terrorist. Some of her dialogue also hints towards the student radical interpretation that Larry Hama originally envisioned for her character, which has largely gone unused. While past iterations here given her the surname De Cobra, the cicerone used her here was first introduced in the pages of Devil's Due G.I. Joe American Elite issue 22 as a retcon to her real last name, and has subsequently been used in G.I. Joe Renegades cartoon and the G.I. Joe classified novels. Clutch misquotes the song "You Can't Always Get What You Want" by the Rolling Stone. Next issue, presented by Skybound Entertainment, distributed by Image Comics. Duke, Volume 1, Issue 4. If you had just given up this precious system that has caged you your entire life, we all have our cages, Baroness, even you. Quote, Baroness and Duke. Presented by Skybound Entertainment, distributed by Image Comics. Duke, Volume 1, Issue 4. Major Blood's bloodhounds continue their assault on the pit. Stalker tries to radio for backup, but his signal is jammed, and he is forced to retreat further into the pit with the others. Meanwhile, Baroness has her gun aimed at Duke, while Clutch and Rock and Roll fight off bloodhounds. She threatens to take Duke in and collect his bounty, but Duke tells her that even if she does, the people after him will eventually turn on her if she gets caught up in their game. The Baroness agrees and helps him up, and while Stalker is hesitant about this new alliance, he agrees they'll need all the help they can get. Unable to combat the hounds above them, the group decides to head further down into the pit, finding a hangar full of decommissioned and experimental vehicles that with a bit of fine-tuning from Clutch they can use to fight back against the invaders. Back on the surface, a grievously wounded Blood reports back to his hounds, ordering that they destroy the pit, but they leave Baroness to him. She owes him an eye. However, at that moment, the pit opens up and an APC, a Mobat, and a Sky Striker comes roaring out, mowing down the bloodhound. As the hounds retreat, Baroness takes the opportunity to escape by stealing one of their fangs, much to Stalker's irritation. Duke similarly decides to use this opportunity to take the Sky Striker and follow the location on the devices Adele Burkhardt gave him. Clutch tries to convince him to stay, but ultimately wishes his friend luck on his mission. At a secret Mars facility in the Rocky Mountains, Destro oversees the construction of his new HISS tank, but is informed that the power cores they've been provided with are insufficient. Mercer enters and informs Destro of Blood's failure. Knowing Duke will be headed for them, Destro tells Mercer to have Scrap Iron test his latest creation in the field. As Duke approaches the mountain range, a secret compartment opens up from which Scrap Iron fires his missiles from his anti-armor drone. Duke managed to bail out of the Sky Striker before it crashes and climbs the mountain up to the facility. Inside, he discovers more of the weapons and vehicles he found at the Mars facility, along with a massive battery of some kind. Knowing Mars is watching him, Duke rails at them. He knows what they're doing, and he's going to kill their flying robot. However, his words are cut short when he is grasped by the mechanical clawed armor of a battle android trooper. Bat notes: the tracking device Burkhardt gave Duke in issue 1 was confiscated off panel when Duke and Clutch were captured in issue 2. Mars needs a new energy source to power their new weapons. Perhaps a new ally could provide that. Although it's worth noting the Bat's chest piece does glow the familiar yellow color we've seen elsewhere, so maybe they do have some Energon. Duke is still operating under the incorrect assumption that Mars is responsible for creating Starscream and causing the death of his friend Frosting back in Transformers #2. G.I. Joe references the APC, Mobat, and Sky Striker are all classic Joe vehicles from the first 2 years of Real American Hero line. As expected, Major Blood is shown to have lost his eye due to the Baroness setting up to receive either his traditional eye patch or a more classified and inspired tech version. The shape of the wound is also remnant of some of the scar tissue sculpting on its classified figure. Scrap Eye also continues the trend of a character design being based on their classified figures. He is even shown using the figure's main accessory, the anti-armor drone. The final issue, presented by Skybound Entertainment, distributed by Image Comics, Duke, Volume 1, Issue 5. You run on batteries, while I'm a good old American manpower. Duke ripping off the Bat's head. Man versus machine. The final battle between Duke and Mars. Presented by Skybound Entertainment, distributed by Image Comics. Duke, Volume 1, Issue 5. In the remains of the pit, Colonel Hawk interrogates Clutch on where Duke took the Sky Striker after their battle with Major Blood and the Bloodhounds. Clutch refuses to talk, but Stalker tells Hawk that they were able to find Dr. Adele Burkhardt's tracker in the wreckage, meaning they can track where Duke was headed. Meanwhile, Duke is still being strangled by the claw of the battle android trooper. Mercer and Destro watch the fight from the shadows. Deciding to take a different approach, Destro emerges and explains his philosophy to Duke. Destro says, it's called a battle android trooper, BAT for short. How do you like it? They never question orders, complain, or surrender. They are the future. Unlike you, but you have been a thorn in my side long enough that I felt it was my time we met. Face to face, I did my research. Conrad Hager, once a great soldier, but recently fallen from grace and too far down the rabbit hole. However, I have a proposition for you, Duke. What am I building here will revolutionize the world. In all wars, there is only one winner, the weapons, and those that control them. The Destro family has controlled those arms of war for centuries, and now the world is up for grabs. But I am not a fool. I know that I need people like you, people burned by the system, betrayed by their country. You know as well as I do that the red in red, white, and blue is made from your blood. He offers Duke a place in Mars, which Duke rebuffs with the accusation that his robot killed Frosting. Destro is fascinated at the idea of transforming robot, but assures Duke that he didn't build it. He falsely claims that it was built by the U.S. military in order to sway Duke to his side, but Duke sees through the lie. When Destro offers him a hand, Duke takes it and pulls Destro into a headbutt. Destro then leaves Duke to the bat, which easily knocks him to the ground. As Destro leaves, Mercer informs him that Duke's tracker pinged again, meaning he's likely being followed. Deciding to cut his losses, Destro orders Scrap Iron to destroy the facility. The bat takes off its claw feature and attacks with a flamethrower. Duke looks a little concerned. Duke picks up a machine gun, but it's unloaded. He remarks, I honestly didn't expect them to practice gun safety before using the gun to hit the bat. Despite the flamethrower threat, Duke smashes the gun against the bat trooper, breaking it. He taunts, you run on batteries. Well, I'm a good old American manpower. Duke then jumps on the bat's shoulders, grabbing underneath and starts yanking at its head. With sheer determination, he pulls and pulls until he rips the head and the spinal column out of the robot, overpowering the bat. Duke exclaims, take that, you stupid robot. However, even after ripping off the head and spinal cord of the bat, it continues to operate. Astonished, Duke remarks, you've got to be kidding me, as the bat whirls the flamethrower everywhere. Duke spears the bat and takes the spinal cord and its head and whirls it around, finally reaching its destination of the bat's power source. He is aiming to crush its power. As he smashes the power source, memories flood back of his friend Frosty being killed by another type of robot, a flying robot. robot. We know them as the Decepticons. Driven by rage and determination, Duke relentlessly attacks the bat's energy source, reliving the moment of his friend's death with each blow. Smash, smash, smash. Finally, after a relentless assault, Duke destroys the bat, severing its connection to the energy source. Duke says, "I got you, Frost. I got you. Let's go home." Boom! Exhausted, Duke collapses to the ground as the facility explodes around him. Later, news reports declares Duke dead, claiming his body was discovered in Colorado mountains. He has been cleared of the murder of Dr. Burkhardt, and authorities are currently searching for Major Blood, who remains at large. Duke wakes up at a hospital where Colonel Hawk and CoverGirl greet him. Hawk tells Duke that he was trying to protect him by not telling him the truth, but now thanks to Duke's efforts, they know more about Destro and Mars than ever before. Hawk brings Duke to the pit, reuniting him with Clutch, and tells Duke that he wants to lead a highly trained special mission force to handle the new threats that are emerging. Hawk says, "I want you to build a highly trained special mission force, one that can handle these new threats on the horizon." Duke says, "Not a chance. I'm not fighting anyone's secret war." Clutch, "You got a ride out of here?" Hawk, "Hold on, Duke. This is bigger than you know. There's a lot more happening here than you can imagine. It's more than just Destro. It's more than just one jet that turns into a robot." Duke says, "What do you mean?" CoverGirl, "One of our drones caught this on a surveillance a few months ago. This big SOB turns into a truck. Destro might not have built them, but someone did, and we need to know what they are and how to stop them. You already proved you can, son. What do you say now, Duke? We destroy them all." Notes: Dr. Burkhardt's tractor given to Duke in issue 1 was established as being taken off Duke off panel last issue. The footage Hawk shows Duke of Optimus Prime shows him with the Megatron arm, indicating the footage was captured at least sometime after Transformers 4. Destro's maroon suit jacket features a leopard print lining on the inside, inspired by the infamous Pimp Daddy Prophet Director Destro figure. The Jeep that Destro, Mercer, and Scrap Iron escape in is based on the Cobra Stinger vehicle with a slightly modified front bumper and redesigned missile launcher on the back. Duke having to fake his death ahead of the formation of G.I. Joe mirrors the setup of the original IDW continuity. The description of this new team as a highly trained special mission force is of course pulled directly from the narration of the original G.I. Joe, a real American hero cartoon series theme. Experience the Energon Universe in older videos such as Duke, Transformers, and Cobra Commander. "I hate you, American. Well, you're really going to love me when I tell you what I've planned." Quote, Baroness and Duke. Duke recruits an unlikely member for his new team. Presented by Skybound Entertainment, distributed Image Comics, G.I. Joe, Energon Universe 2024 special. With Conrad Duke Hauser assembling his new team under the orders of Colonel Hawk, he decided on their next recruit, Anastasia Sizavrona, the renegade spy and assassin known as the Baroness. Hawk objects to the idea, giving her pass, but Duke argues that that's exactly why she should be recruited, that her experience and willingness to get dirty allow her to think outside the box. He also underscores that if they don't get to her, someone else will. Still on the run, Baroness walks down a city street before being attacked by two mysterious figures in green and black armor. She engages in a brief back and forth before Duke arrives on a motorcycle, offering her a lift. The Baroness begrudgingly agrees. Aboard a plane, the Baroness expresses her disappointment that Duke has rejoined the United States military. Duke tells her the war they need to fight is bigger than they know and that he needs all the resources he can get. He wants someone around who will question authority and keep his team honest and on the edge. Someone like her. He gives her two choices: join or spend the rest of her days either behind bars or on the run. Baroness, now wearing a new uniform emblazoned with a star, gives her answer: Yo Joe. While pursuing his various files, Hawk meets with two other agents, Flint and Lady J, both whom are wearing the green and black armor of the Baroness attackers. Hawk tells them they went easy on the Baroness, with Flint reminding him they were ordered to bring her in alive. Lady J points out that Duke rescuing her wasn't part of the plan, but Hawk says that this still worked out. Baroness has been brought to their side, and she and Duke have a bond now. And given the recent issue of trust between Duke and him, Hawk doesn't want Duke to know that he's making more than one team. Notes: the story story primarily acts as a coda to the Duke miniseries, following up what happened with the Baroness after she escaped from the pit in issue 4. Hawk Files at the end act sort of a bridge between all Earth-based Energon Universe titles. Duke, in addition to the story, largely behind a coda to the events of Duke, Hawk has files for each of the Joe team members seen in the series, as well, featuring photos of Destro and the MASS mass device, the schematics for which were first glimpsed by Dr. Adele Burkhart's computer back in Duke #1. Scarlet. Hawk has a file for Scarlet indicating he's either considering recruiting her or has already done so. Destro. In addition to the aforementioned Destro file, we've seen a shot of the Crimson Twins, Tomax and Exmont, on a monitor. Cobra Commander. While it wasn't quite on fire when last we saw the Dreadnought cabin was destroyed thanks to the actions of Cobra Commander and the Nemesis Enforcer. Transformer. Hawk has a file with the Autobot logo on it. Clutch's photo in Hawk's file shows him wearing a helmet, a shirt modeled on the G.I. Joe Classified Series design. This issue introduces Joe stars and frequent partners Flint and Lady J to the Energon Universe as part of the mysterious secondary team of Joes. Giving his usual leadership roles, we can likely expect Flint to have a major leadership role, with the other team echoing similar role in the IDW Continuality and Renegades cartoon. Their identities as the mysterious attackers are hinted at early on by both assailants using their signature weapons, a shotgun and a spear respectively. Why does Baroness say Yo Joe? Even assuming the team Hawk and Duke are putting together has officially taken on the name of G.I. Joe, it doesn't appear to be public knowledge yet, and Baroness has been on the run since her escape. Stay tuned for more Energon Universe videos.